heart was pounding, like, it was like I'd been like electrocuted or something. Like I was just so tense.
They told me to smash the door down and get in there, and then it got really scary.
When I got the inkling that something was wrong, I just tried to call her and call her and call her and call her, and I must have called her about 50 times.
He says, "Are you the biological mother of Steph and James Osgood?"
I don't know how to tell you this, but your brother isn't alive anymore.
I'm sorry to tell you, but Lucy's dead.
Andrew was my role model more than you were, sorry, Ryan. He was pretty much everything I wanted to be.
I literally thought I was like going to be the brother of the future best scientist or
some Nobel Prize winner.
Do something amazing, yeah. I actually did think he would win a Nobel Prize.
I probably would have.
He might have done.
Telling my children that their brother was dead was horrendous. My boys, my two boys, are always going to be children whose brother killed themselves. That's hard.
I met Andrew on my first day of school. Once we were in sixth form, he's probably my closest friend by then. He was always up for having a good laugh, coming up with pretty ridiculous things to say, which you wouldn't expect, you know, when you first meet him. He was completely unassuming, he had no sort of ego to him, but you could tell just from speaking to him that he was extremely intelligent.
Around 335,000 teenagers in England, Wales and Northern Ireland have been getting their results today.
Oh my God! I can remember A-level results day ridiculously well. Actually, we were being filmed that day for a news programme.
I'm so proud of you!
The year before us at school, no one had gone to Oxford or Cambridge. I saw Andrew for about 3 seconds and we both just sort of nodded at each other like, yep, we did it.
No low grades for Andrew Kirkham. He got 4 A stars and seemed stunned.
I don't know, I haven't really taken in all these words on these paper yet.
Yeah. And where is it you want to go and what do you want to do?
Physics and philosophy at Oxford.
Andrew and his friend Effie both arrived at Oxford University in the autumn of 2012.
When he had his matriculation, he looked so smart, and I remember seeing the picture and just laughing because I'd never seen him look that smart before. But yeah, he was sending me messages like, can you? I've been looking on YouTube how to tie this bow tie for like the last an hour. Like, I've lost my shoes. Like, can you help me? Basically, I'm in trouble. So yeah, he was enjoying it.
I did see Andrew in first week though outside a club, which just blew my mind because I'd never seen him clubbing before in my entire life.
I was Andrew's first girlfriend. I actually felt that he was my soulmate. I loved to brag and tell people that I had a boyfriend who went to Oxford. I still do that sometimes, actually.
The first thing he said to me, where I was like, whoa, that's not okay, was when he said he'd done 2 all-nighters in a row. And I was like, well, that's sleep deprivation. You know, you're going to feel really bad and it's going to really mess with your head.
I think he was under a new level of pressure that he wasn't able to completely overcome. And I think that was like the first time he was like, I don't know if I'm at this level, I don't know if I'm good enough to carry on doing this and succeed at it.
Well, it's amazing how quickly Andrew went down. It really is. And I don't know when it began to fall apart, but it seems that it happened very quickly.
Unknown to Andrew, his friend Effie was also struggling with university life.
Once you get into somewhere like Oxford, admitting that you don't want to be there and leaving is the most horrendous thing in the entire world. There was this pressure from the university, from, you know, society as a whole, to stay there. And I got myself into such a panic and such a state over it. I remember saying to my mum, look, I can't do this anymore, I need to go home. We've got a missing diary. And 2013, which is really interesting, is that big. Like, that's all it is, because it was such a bad time for me. And then literally, this is how bad I thought it was. I've fucked up my life. It doesn't mean I have to continue like that. And then that was June. I actually haven't read this back in a long, long time.
Andrew returned home that summer, determined to continue with his studies.
When we came back in the summer for summer holidays, our family and his family had like a big barbecue at theirs. He was happy that he'd finished his first year of university, but he wasn't quite as enthusiastic about his exams, certainly. And I think he sort of felt to himself anyway that he hadn't done as well as he thought he might have done.
When do you go from being sad to depressed? And I, to this day, have no idea when that point is. It's not like you can pick out people from a line and say, well, these ones are going to commit suicide in their lifetime. It could happen to literally anybody.
This is my ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. ALS, also known as motor neuron disease in the UK.
He said, I want to go to Aberystwyth University. I think it was the surfer culture that he wanted to be a part of. He was brilliant at snowboarding, brilliant at surfing, brilliant at skateboarding, and I think he just thought Aberystwyth would be a massive party and surf party. That's what I thought he thought.
Let's go.
Stefan did have a lot of friends, yeah. Stefan just knew a stupid number of people. He was just really funny. He just was a big character. He was my best friend.
Every single night out with him was brilliant and hilarious. He'd just do random stuff. He'd dance crazily than everyone else. He'd be more up for doing that mad shot challenge that everyone's trying, you know, like. He would always be the one pushing for people to have more fun than they were having.
So this is a cheeky little recorded message for Flopsy.
He turned into my friend more because he was honest with me.
I just wanted to know that you suck, and I hate you like fucking loads.
Anytime that I was feeling like I had no energy, he'd bring all of his energy.
And I actually love you, and this is all just hate.
We've become, yeah, very close.
Fist bump the camera.
There were two sides to Stefan. There was the happy-go-lucky side. And then there was the very intense side of him where he was very serious about things and very quiet and very introspective.
He told me he had a history of depression. He had quite a lot of scars on his arms. And I remembered, I noticed them and never wanted to ask. And then I think he brought it up and I said, oh, I didn't notice, which was a bit of a lie because I had noticed, but, so he told me then.
When he was about 14, 15, started with anxiety attacks. He would withdraw and go into himself and he wouldn't talk about it. And then it would pass and he'd move on.
In March 2016, Stefan was approaching his final exams at Aberystwyth.
I think he was worried that he wasn't going to pass his degree. He wasn't going to pass his finals and they were impending. He'd also spent all his rent.
He got a letter saying that, you know, action was going to have to be taken if it didn't get sorted out soon.
I think uncertainty bothered Stefan massively. And I think he was also tired of his depressions and tired of carrying them and hiding them and not showing anybody. So I think a mixture of uncertainty, fear of failure, and that he just didn't want to be a burden.
On the night of Stefan's death, Clarissa dialed in for their usual evening Skype.
I spoke to Stefan for probably about 4 hours on Skype. We were watching House at the time. We'd each have Netflix up and have each other on Skype, and we'd order Chinese at the same time and see who would arrive first. Me and Stefan were just having a normal catch-up, as far as I was concerned, and that's what it seemed like.
Stefan and Clarissa had been planning to move in together once his exams were over.
I was talking about when Stefan was moving to Bristol and about work and stuff like that, and he said, "Oh, don't worry, everything's going to be okay." I think at the point where we had that conversation, Stefan already knew what he was going to do. I don't know whether at that point he knew he was going to do it that night, but I think he knew he was going to do it. Stefan sent me a message on Facebook at about 4 o'clock in the morning saying, "I love you and I always will, and I'm sorry." As far as I'm aware, it happened sometime fairly soon after that conversation.
About 9 o'clock in the morning, there's a knock at the door. And there's a policeman. And he says, God, those words. "Are you the biological mother of Stefan James Osgood?" Oh, and I just shot to my feet. And I said, "Yes, why? Is he all right? Is he all right?" I don't know whether I felt it straight away, but I had a horrible feeling. And I thought, oh God. And he said, "I'm so sorry to tell you that he's passed away this morning."
I put down the phone, went and sat on my bed and looked at the floor. And then I think I cried for about 5 hours. Yeah, I couldn't stop.
I don't know why he didn't tell me. Crosses my mind almost every day why Stefan did what he did. He was feeling awful about 1,000,001 different things, and that drove him to what he was going to do. He was going to take his life, and it's not okay because now we can't fix it. I'm not saying it's the ultimate fix, but talking about it helps. Yeah, exactly. It's the best start. And people just don't want to.
This was a night where she walked into the pub and everyone just like turned around and I was like, who is that? Because she is like the most like beautiful person ever. I remember loads of boys like looking at her like coming up to her and like, who are you? like trying to chat her up and stuff. She was like, go away.
She used to look like Dora the Explorer. When we were small, we were actually like worst enemies. I guess I was quite jealous of her coming into the world and taking all my limelight away. So it was only really when we got older that we became best friends.
In September 2015, Lucy began studying for her nursing degree.
Lucy was so excited to do nursing. She was excited to look after people because Lucy, she never really cared about herself. She cared more about other people.
She started the course in September and she went to a Halloween ball at one of the clubs and she met a junior doctor and they became serious really quickly.
If she got a boyfriend, it was always something very serious. It would be all or nothing.
They were talking about marriage, they'd gone on holidays together, they were planning on moving in together. She felt that she'd got her life planned out.
Lucy was paying her own way through university, working 2 jobs to pay the bills.
Lucy would do 12 hours at the ward at the hospital, what she loved, but then she would have to go and do a shift at a restaurant, like really long shifts, like 6 in the evening to like 11:30, 12 at night, and she's just done a 12-hour shift. Like, that's not healthy for anyone.
She did tell me that she was struggling. There was just a lot of weight on her shoulders and a lot of pressure, and there wasn't much she could do about it, really.
In the spring term of her second year, Lucy and her boyfriend split up.
She was distraught. Like, I've never seen anyone like it, because I think she thought she met her dream person, like they can spend the rest of their life together. It just broke her, and I think that's where it all started to go downhill.
I feel like on top of all the other pressures, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, really.
On the day of Lucy's death, she met up with a few friends.
But she'd been socialising a few hours earlier and her friends certainly didn't think there was anything wrong. There were no warning signals. I think it was something that happened quite suddenly. I think she went in a dark place.
In the final hours before her death, Lucy sent a text.
When I got the inkling that something was wrong, I just tried to call her and call her and call her and call her, and I must have called her about 50 times without her answering, frantically. I got a call from my mum's number, but it wasn't my mum, it was a police officer.
I decided not to wait for them to have to break it to me. I just said to them, just tell me, is she dead? And they said yes. I just screamed.
You know, she did call me and she did say that she was, you know, depressed. So yeah, I always said, you know, you can talk to me about anything. And she did. I guess it just, maybe, I don't know, I just couldn't, I don't know, just couldn't save her, I guess. Yeah.
I don't think anyone should have to go through this feeling, because it's a dark, dark feeling of losing your best friend, especially to suicide, especially not at this age. How do you cope? Like, what do you do? You don't know what to do.
In October 2013, Andrew returned to Oxford to begin his second year. But his friend Effie didn't return with him.
I started seeing doctors and things over the summer. I basically decided I didn't want to go back. I wish Andrew had known about me. I was feeling like this and Andrew was feeling like this, and I could have at any point just gone, you know what, Andrew, I'm dropping out of university. I think I'm depressed. And that sort of sharing of stuff, if I had just done that, maybe it would have changed things.
Still struggling, Andrew only shared his feelings with one person, his girlfriend Clarissa, at home in Brazil.
He told me that he felt like a fake and that he was falling short of the image that people had from him. And he told me he hadn't been going to his lectures and skipping his tutorials, and he hadn't been doing any work, and he was just staying in his bed all day and crying. And he didn't want to tell anyone else about his depression because he felt really ashamed.
By November, Andrew was falling seriously behind with his work. His tutor asked a local GP to see him.
His demeanour was neutral and pleasant. He was not visibly distressed. He didn't give much away emotionally at all. I suggested he might want to talk to the counselling service about it, but he was completely against that. Strongly encouraged him to share it with his parents, which he, again, flatly refused to do so. Anyone over the age of 18 has the right to say that they don't want their parents to be informed. We always ask people about self-harm thoughts, and as I did with Andrew, he said he had some fleeting thoughts but would never act on them. And if someone says they will never act on them and you check on that, what else can you believe?
Andrew was prescribed antidepressants and asked to come back for another appointment.
He told me that he really, really wanted to die, and he didn't even know anymore if he wanted to get better. Andrew made it very clear that he didn't want me to tell anyone. I was afraid that at the moment I told someone, he would just commit suicide, you know, that he would feel so ashamed.
The night of Andrew's 20th birthday would be the last time he'd speak to Clarissa.
We laughed and we had like a funny conversation, and we were talking about his plans to come to see me in Brazil, and I think we both thought that when he came to Brazil and after he had spent a month with me, he would feel better and he would be ready to go back to uni and do his work. We said we loved each other. Actually, I think it was just the last message he ever sent me. It was just saying he loved me back.
The next day, Andrew was called to a meeting with his tutor, where it was suggested he should consider taking a year's medical leave.
It would have been devastating. Absolutely devastating. His dream had crashed.
I had an email from College Dean saying that he was still worried about Andrew and that his tutor had said that he seemed very distressed. I wish that Andrew and I had met again, because it's possible that he may have been in a frame of mind to reveal his true intent.
He had a train ticket on Monday morning. He'd washed all his clothes. His birthday cards were on his shelf. It was his birthday on the Wednesday. He was given this news on the Thursday. And on Friday, he bought the rest of the things he needed to kill himself. I hadn't heard from him on Sunday morning, and he was going to Brazil on Monday morning. I sent a text that said something like, "You're really worrying me now. If I don't hear from you by 12, I'm just going to come." I actually at that point still thought maybe he was asleep on somebody else's floor after a party. But as I left the house here and drove up the motorway, something felt wrong. And because I got there and there was nobody at the house. So I had a phone call from the dean, who told me to smash the door down and get in there. And then it got really scary. And then the policeman was looking at stuff, and then we found a package that had been delivered to Andrew was actually still just inside downstairs. And I said to the policeman, "What is that for?" And he said, "People use it to harm themselves." And then the policeman got this call on his walkie-talkie, and the message that he'd got was that they'd found a body in Port Meadow. So they then asked her for a photograph, and then within about 20 minutes, the policeman told me that he was dead.
A student from Oxford University's Balliol College has been found dead at a local beauty spot. The area of Port Meadow was sealed off for much of yesterday.
I was sitting in the living room, she called George in, and then she sat down on this little beanbag. I sat on the sofa, and she said, and I remember the words exactly, she said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but your brother isn't alive anymore."
The worst part is imagining what you would say to him and what he would say back. And then knowing that he's not going to be able to say those things. For me, that's the worst.
Andrew's brothers, Ryan and George, are leaving to return to university.
After Andrew died, one of the major things that shifted in my whole view of the whole thing was I should go to university, and everything I do at university should just be the stuff that I enjoy.
See you in Christmas.
A successful life isn't a life where you're winning Nobel Prizes and getting hundreds of thousands of pounds. A successful life is a life you're enjoying.
Have a lovely year and enjoy it. Enjoy freshers. We're kind of like trying to tell people a little bit about the Stefan Socks campaign today.
Stefan used to fence in 2 pink socks, and it was his trademark. We wear pink socks because it's our way of remembering Stefan and our way of raising money to make sure nothing like this ever happens again.
One of our students tragically died by suicide. It started a massive campaign of raising awareness for mental health, and it's about knowing that it's okay to not be okay.
I think Stefan was very much of the mindset that it wouldn't be very blokey or manly or appropriate to admit you're depressed.
She thought that she couldn't reach out to anyone because no one would be there for her. I just wish that she knew there were so many people there who would have been there for it in like 2 seconds.
If you are going through depression, you just need to tell somebody. Just wish I could just talk to her one more time. You know, look into her face and see her looking back, really. You know, just living and breathing, even if it was just for 5 minutes.